Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. Make sure you like and subscribe on this video. We'd love to have you continue to watch our videos moving forward, especially about college football, because this was another big, crazy week of college athletics, especially on the football scene. And as we get into the AP Top 25 here, a lot of movement again this week. You see Tulane at number 25. Big win for them over South Florida, 45-31. And we have another AAC team here, Austin, in the top 25. But there's one team actually on the outside, just looking in, that I really want to highlight, and that's Kansas. They were having a really great season for themselves, one that was, I think, unexpected across the nation. They had an unfortunate loss to Oklahoma this week, 52-42, and now they find themselves back on the outside. Do you think Kansas can get back in here?
Yeah, I think Kansas has a shot here playing in the Big 12. They're going to face some quality opponents going the rest of the way. I think, if you're in some of the other lower level conferences, you don't have as good of a shot, but Kansas has some quality opponents still left on their schedule. And it's disappointing for them because they felt pretty confident, with this offense going in, dropping a tough game. They definitely felt like they should have had that game won. But at the end of the day, Kansas is having a great season compared to where the expectations were set at, especially when you look over the last couple of seasons. Once again, Purdue is so close here. If they string together a couple of wins, you're going to see some team drop out. They're going to be the next to get bumped in there. I feel like Purdue has a pretty good chance of being ranked again. LSU just hanging on the outside looking in. They're a team that if they can figure out the quarterback situation, they should be good to go. They should be ranked again at some point, but playing in the SEC is very tough. But that kind of highlights the big names there in the others receiving votes.
Right. Tulane again at 25. As we move up to number 24, we look at a team like Mississippi State, who did lose to Kentucky by 10. They dropped 8 spots, one of the biggest falls this week. And it's right next to North Carolina State, who also fell 8 spots after losing to Syracuse by 15 points. Pretty surprising, actually, that you see Mississippi State below NC State here, just given the fact that NC State didn't even put up 10 points in their game, and they played, I would say, less competitively than Mississippi State did in theirs. North Carolina, the Tar Heels, ranked here at number 22, win 38-35 against their big-time school rival Duke. Then we have another American Athletic Conference team here in Cincinnati, 21. Of course, they represented the AAC last year in the college football playoffs. They won by only 4 here against USF. But again, a win's a win. And at 20, we got Texas at 5-2, beating Iowa State by 3 as well. So a lot of close games in here. And we actually have 2 teams who did not play well this weekend in 24 and 23. Austin, what do you think about these rankings here? Did they get it right? Would you prefer NC State a little bit lower? Where are you at with these 2 teams?
Yeah, I'd like to see Mississippi State above them. That was a great point. I think Mississippi State's just the better team. They play in a tougher conference. Mississippi State's passing offense is super prolific, and I speak about this a lot. And Mike Leach and Will Rogers' execution in this offense has great familiarity playing in it. In multiple years, he has a good feel for this offense and what they can do. Losing a close game against a conference opponent on the road is difficult. Highlighting NC State there. We'll get to Syracuse in a little bit, but man, NC State takes a tumble too. So 2 big drops there. North Carolina barely edging out Duke. And then once again, Texas getting the nice win over Iowa State. Texas is a program on the rise once again. It all starts at that quarterback position. They have some really good skill position guys as well. I think this team is kind of dangerous moving forward. They got the 2 losses, but if Quinn Ewers finishes that Alabama game, I think this is a different result and this is a different conversation about Texas football.
Right. We could see them even up into the top 10 potentially if those things played out just a little bit differently. Moving up a little bit higher now, number 19, there's Kentucky. They had that big win over Mississippi State that we headlined. Illinois with a pretty dominant win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who were in the top 25 at one point this year, no longer are, of course, and 26-14 for the Fighting Illini. Kind of something we weren't expecting this year, Austin, but they've looked pretty good this year at 6-1. Kansas State, they're at 5-1 with a 1-point win over Iowa State. And then you see Penn State there as well. Got obliterated by Michigan, but surprisingly only dropped 6 spots, probably because of how good their resume looks overall. They've been very good in a lot of their games besides this one. Austin, do you think 19-16, they got it right here?
I think for the most part, yeah, Penn State dropping that one. Once again, that's a very difficult opponent on the road, having to go to Michigan in Ann Arbor. That's a very difficult game to win. What was less than impressive though was, their run defense was atrocious. I'm pretty sure Michigan ran for over 300 yards on the ground. They had two backs eclipse 150 each. So that was a difficult game. Blake Corum got what he wanted. That was one of those games where you have to really scratch your head on, Penn State's run defense. I know they're not that bad of a run defense, but Michigan was having their way along that offensive line there. K-State narrowly edging out Iowa State. I feel like that could have been a death sentence for K-State had they lost that football game. I'm going to be honest, because K-State, I feel, does not have quite the wiggle room that other teams might have in these rankings. Illinois, Brent Bielema, I cannot speak on the job that he's done here. Program that struggled mightily football-wise over the last couple of seasons, even under Lovie Smith, who had NFL head coaching pedigree, went to a Super Bowl. Bielema's done a great job. You look at his whole body of work here. I go back to his Arkansas days. I think this is really, those jobs previously really helped him with this gig here. Illinois has been impressive. And then Kentucky, I don't know if there's a team here that we've seen fluctuate more in these rankings, and you probably agree with this, than Kentucky, because we've seen them as high as 8, and then they drop out, and now they're back in. It's just a lot of movement for this, Kentucky Wildcat team.
Right. They've had a rocky beginning of the season, but I know our viewers think that those SEC teams get a little bit of favoritism here. So maybe that 5-2 record, that's what we're seeing a little bit. I would disagree with our viewers on that, though. At 15, Utah, huge win over USC, and one that's really going to go a long way in keeping them in that top 15, especially in this video. Syracuse at 14, Austin, you talked about, hey, we're going to see them in a little bit here. ACC school, 6-0. They've had such a good season up to this point. Wake Forest, 5-1. They beat Army handedly. Number 12, USC. And this is really where it's going to get controversial, I think, in this video. Utah just beat USC, but USC still ranked above Utah. You probably talk about, strength of schedule, resume this year. USC 6-1, Utah only 5-2. I'm interested in your thoughts on that one. And then OK State loses to TCU by 3, and they dropped 3 spots because of that. They're now at number 11, Austin. This 15 to 11 range, I think, is really hairy. There's a lot of different ways you could look at this. We got 2 ACC schools in here, 2 Pac-12s, and a Big 12 school as well. Did they get this right? Do you think USC is too high, too low? Utah, where do you want them? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this. This is probably the most interesting part of this is, how do you dissect what happened just outside of the top 10 here? USC losing to Utah in a narrow game. Now, a lot of people are going to be upset. Utah just beat them. How come in head-to-head? I'm a big believer in head-to-head in rankings, but once again, that's under the idea that they have the same record for the most part. USC has 1 loss. Utah has 2 losses. And so in that event, I'm okay with the result here, because I think if you play out this game 10 times, I really do believe that USC probably wins that 6 or 7 times. So that side of it, once again, I'm okay with that result. I mean, your 1 play difference here. So I'm all right with that. If it was an absolute, demolishing of USC, then yeah, I get it. Even if it's a 1 loss separation. Wake Forest takes care of business against Army, to be expected. Syracuse, the surprising program of the entire year. There's always a team like this. We have Cincinnati last year. We've had Coastal Carolinas, Liberties. Those are the kind of teams that, are very similar to what Syracuse is this year. Impressive what they've been able to do in that ACC. And then Oklahoma State's the other team you have to highlight, a team that's been, in that top 10 range for a good portion of the season. And they had this game won against TCU. And after kind of watching what went down, I mean, they were up 2 touchdowns. Things were looking great. And then their offense went absolutely stagnant. Spencer Sanders couldn't move the ball at all. There was no protection along the line. A lot of bad decisions made. They beat themselves in this game, which is unfortunate. Mike Gundy's program here is super talented, and they play hard. But at the end of the day, they made some key mistakes against TCU.
Definitely a disappointing turn of events. And as we move up into the top 10, there's going to be a lot of schools that we've already seen up in this area. Just looking at the writing on the wall here, Oregon back up into the top 10, UCLA. So we got 2 Pac-12 schools at 10 and 9. TCU here, they have been on the rise all year long, and it's a crazy turnaround from where they were last year. Ole Miss at 7, and of course the headliner here, Alabama, number 6. They're 6-1. They lost to Tennessee by 3 in what was one of the best games probably of all season for college football. Austin, I want you to break down 10-6 here. Surprised? How excited are you about these rankings? Where are you at with this?
Yeah, so Pac-12 making a little bit of movement here into that top 10. Both UCLA or in Oregon both jump in here, which is good for that conference, who has been struggling mightily across the board in terms of where this program or this conference future lies in football, with some of those big dogs moving to the Big Ten. So that's promising on that side of it. TCU super good in Big 12 play here. Obviously having an undefeated record. Big win against Oklahoma State, which is, I would consider the cream of the crop of that Big 12. I think they're a phenomenal team, very, very good defensively. So once again, a lot of credit to them. Ole Miss, you look at what Lane Kiffin's been able to do year in, year out, despite losing Matt Corral, brings in a guy like Jackson Dart, who had a phenomenal game against Auburn. Love what I'm seeing from this Ole Miss program. They just continue to be super steady in that SEC. And then you jump to Alabama. There's going to be some people saying that Alabama should be 9 or 10 potentially. I don't think that's right, because I think this is a very talented football team. And over the last couple of seasons, we've seen them drop a weird game here and there, but they're super great at the end of the day. Best roster in all of college football. I don't think that's really a question, but you look at it, you have a Heisman level quarterback, you have a great defense. They're going to go places. They're going to make the college football playoff very likely. So once again, I wouldn't overreact. I know people are going to say they need to be much lower and they're going to show favoritism, but at the end of the day, I'm not an Alabama guy, but I mean, it makes sense why they're still here at 6.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to make a lot of people mad with those comments, Austin, but I completely agree with you. Viewers, let us know where you think Alabama should be ranked this week. And let us know if you think Alabama does have a chance to make it to the college football playoffs this year or not. Moving into the top 5 now, a lot of movement again, like we're talking about. Clemson drops back down below Michigan after Michigan has that big win over Penn State. Those two teams have been flip-flopping all year. We've been talking about them very consistently, Austin. Do you think Michigan over Clemson, or do you think Clemson over Michigan?
I think when you're kind of going off of this week and the wins, I mean, the Michigan win was a much better win in terms of actual quality. So, they played a complete football game. They looked great in that one. Clemson, it's tough. These are going to flip flop all year until we have somebody finally drop a game. I think it's kind of conditional on who they're playing that week, and that's how they're determining this. So those two, completely fine with the outcome of where they're at.
Right. And then the top 3 here, this is where everything gets really crazy, right? Tennessee, they pulled off the win against Alabama, last second field goal, does not go in for Alabama. Tennessee now at number 3. Number 2, Ohio State with a 29-point win over the Michigan State Spartans. And then Georgia, you look at them here, 55-point obliteration of Vanderbilt, a school that you would expect them to beat. They go out, handle them mightily. And now, Austin, I think that, knowing you, I think you agree with this top 3. So assuming you do, why is the SEC conference championship, game and conference playoffs here for the SEC going to be so important for the college football playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of the top players for the CFP that are right in these rankings. And, obviously that SEC championship could be the difference between Alabama making it or not, which I still think they're going to have a very, very good chance here. Wow. I'm just super excited to see it come down to that, because if Tennessee keeps playing the way that they do and the way they're, capable, I mean, they can be a lot of teams. So I think it's fair having them here after that huge win against Alabama. They have a bigger win than any of these two teams down here. Therefore, they are deserving at the current time to be number 3. Hendon Hooker has been outstanding. I can't, sing his praises enough. Hyatt had 5 touchdowns as a receiver. So a lot of people were not aware of who he was before the game, but now he's on the map. Definitely exciting time to be a Tennessee Volunteer fan.
Let's get some Jalen Hyatt hype in the chat. Make sure to comment his name. Lets us know you made it to the end of the video here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy our AP Top 25 video for this week. Again, we're going to be bringing this all year long, so make sure to subscribe. Also leave a like, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.